The National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, has launched the Enhanced General Multipurpose Card, a significant milestone in Nigeria's drive towards seamless identity management and digital inclusion. This upgraded card serves as a secure and multifunctional tool for identification and transactions and access to essential government and private services, such as designed to align with global best practices. The card is expected to boost economic activities, enhance national security, and streamline public service delivery. So, as Nigerians transit to this improved system, the card's features, the benefits, and the rollout strategy, hence become a topic of national interest. This will be our focus on Nigeria today as we explore the potential to transform identity management in Nigeria. Thanks for joining us. I am Ikaria Clinton. Welcome. Joining me for the conversation on the program today is Princess Dr. Nkoyo Iwok. She's the Director of Procurement, NIMC. Glad to have you in Nigeria today.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Also joining us for the conversation is Dr. Peter Iwebu. He's a Director, Card Management Services, NIMC. You're welcome to Nigeria today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, we hear about this enhanced NIMC General Multipurpose Card. You know, this is a new term for me. So tell us what is it all about, and how does it differ from the regular card that we know, the national ID card that we know?
Oh, great. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here once more. I'd like to say that the name, as the name implies, General Multipurpose Card. It means that it is a card designed for you to carry multiple services, multiple purposes. So it is a card program that is designed to address different use cases as it pertains to identity. As to how does it differ from the conventional card, the old card that were issued before, this card this time around is a 3-in-1 valued card. It creates evidential identity for Nigerians to be able to identify who they are, particularly in very rural areas where availability of trusted identity is of a challenge. Second one is also provides a means for financial services to include people in the financial services industry so that people can be able to carry out transactions in a very secure manner, particularly following the emerging digital economy where virtually everything is now You can buy anything from the comfort of your home. We don't want Nigerians who are not opportune to have a relationship with banks to be disenfranchised. So this provides an opportunity for them to be included. And thirdly is that this card also provides you an access to government services. One of the key challenges as a government is struggling to deal with is identifying the people that they are supporting. How do I identify the people that you are providing palliatives for? How do I identify the people you are providing grants for? So this card also provides that opportunity for people to access government service. So it's a 3-in-1 card, identity, access to financial services, and access to government services. Now, how does it differ from the old ones? It differs from this that the old cards were designed primarily from the point of view for government to issue this card to the people. But what we have done right now is that we're issuing this card in two approaches. One, this is the first time we're providing a card that takes into account the fact that there are a lot of vulnerable Nigerians who who cannot afford to go and procure this card from NIMC offices, from other places. So we have a program that we call Government to People program that enables agencies of government who are providing succor and support to these disenfranchised Nigerians to gather them together and be able to issue them these cards. The second one that we are partnering with the financial industry, the banks, so that people can walk into a bank nearest to them to also pick up this card. Unlike the previous one that was done, you have to go to NIMC office to pick up the card. Everybody has to queue up in government NIMC office to pick up the card. Secondly, this card also provides you with an offline, online capability, which means that in locations in Nigeria where they do not have access to internet, they can actually be able to use this card to identify themselves in offline mode and still be able to enjoy services. Unlike the previous one, you require connectivity before you can use it. This card also, from the point of view of security, this card is provided with 3 layers of security.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that part of security. It's very, very, very important. Now, to you, Princess, tell us, does it mean that the old card will be like phased out? Would stop using the old card that we know now?
Definitely. Definitely we'll have to stop using it because, you know, the old cards that we had before did not have the services that Dr. Peter had enumerated. And because we are moving into the E era, we are already in the E era, so we need to move with time. So that is why the new cards that are coming up have the enablements of financial outlets inside it. There's a chip inside it that you can use for financial services, which is very important even when government is going to give palliatives to the less vulnerable or the less privileged, the vulnerable and the less privileged. It will be easy for them to access and give it directly to those people. So it's very important that we move with time.
Okay, now what about the accessibility, like people, the individuals getting it? How easy will this be for us?
Definitely it will be easy because Engineer Bisoye Koka, their current DG, has partnered with a lot of private sectors and other public agencies. For instance, we are partnering with the banks, the CBN and the NIBS, and partnering with them is going to make it easy because if you have a bank account, we are adding added value to just your ATM card. It will also be like an identity card too. So it's going to be easy for them to go to their banks and ask for it. Just like Dr. Peter said, you don't need to come to NIMSI to queue up to collect those cards.
Okay.
So if you have need for it, you go get it at the particular bank that you really want to use.
Okay, now back to you, Dr. Peter. You talked about, she talked about financial services. That brings me to the, you know, like we have the ATM. Does it mean that this card will replace the ATM, or we still have ATM and still have the card?
Okay. You know, a typical Nigerian carries multiple cards for ATM. And then you carry ATM card one side, carry identity card on the other side. What we are simply doing is that we are leveraging on the back of the fact that most Nigerians carry ATM card right now. So what we're adding to it is, okay, in addition to you carrying an ATM card, we are bringing your ATM card and your identity on one card so that we can have an enhanced value. And then, like the princess mentioned, we have also made it easy for people to be able to access this card. Before now, you have to, we were producing the card, whether you request for it, you don't need it, we just go to our database, process the card, produce the card, hoping that one day you will come and pick it, or that when we reach you, you will come to pick it. Now we have changed the program so that you make the request that you have a need for the card, because when you request for the card, we believe that since you requested for it, we will obviously pick it up. So, and to make this request, we have created an online portal where Nigerians can go, make their choice of the card they want, make a choice of the bank they want to produce it, make a choice of how the branch they want to pick it up. And if you want it delivered to your doorstep, you are also free to make that choice. But however, obviously, to deliver it, you may have to pay for the logistic cost of delivery.
Okay, that brings me, you just talked about money now, and that's, I'm very interested in that part. Is it for free, this card?
No, definitely not. Your ATM card is not for free.
Okay.
You pay for your ATM card.
So we'll have to pay for this one?
Definitely.
But
that will be decided in partnership with NIMSI and the banks.
I hope the price will not scare people away from, you know.
Certainly, I don't expect that to scare people because you see, our card, one of the value we're creating here is it has an longer expiring period. You have a typical bank card or debit card that you use today expire 2 years, 3 years. But this card has a standard, a longer expiring period of 10 years.
10 years.
Wow.
So if you are taking your ATM card for 2,000 naira every 3 years, and if it's 10 years, you can imagine how much you would have paid. But what we are going to give you obviously be much lower than what you would have paid if you are paying every 3 years. So for now, in terms of our focus is basically for the Nigerians to know the value, since it is a user request-based card issuance, once you have a need for this, you see the value for it, you think it's going to add value for you, request for it. We believe because you've seen the value, you will pay the token that is required to enjoy that value. One of the values I mentioned to you is identity, your money and your card with you, access to government services and the rest of them. All these are things you cannot quantify in terms of Naira and Kobo, but once the values are there, we believe that Nigerians will pick it up. And then we have also made provision, like I explained earlier on, for the vulnerables who feel may not afford to pay all those ones, which is why the program that the MDAs who has responsibility to cater for those category of people is going to make sure that those people are provided this card at no cost. Because the cost of delivery is part of their cost of delivering those support to the people. So we are catering for every sector, every part of Nigerians who may need this card.
Okay. Now, Dr. Peter, earlier on, I know you wanted to mention something concerning security. So I wanted to, talk more on this. How secured is it for us not to have what we call identity theft or fraud with this card?
Okay. You see, what we have done in NIMC, we believe strongly we're following the well-known international standard for data security and data protection law. So even our database is adequately secured, it's safe, the layers of security are built around it should give Nigerian comfort that their data is safe with NIMC. So the card we are bringing on board is also provided with adequate security to secure it for the card holders. We have built in, first and foremost, is chip and pin. It's also biometric enabled. And that is the reason why even when you do not have access to connectivity, you can still be able to transact with the card because your biometric is a means of authentication on those cards. The biometric is unique for everybody, except someone cuts your finger and uses it. And even if you cut your finger, the system also checks what is called lifeless. So lifeless. If there's no life left, there's no life in that finger that is cut. The system will not be able to authenticate for the usage. And we have also built in well-known international standard in terms of data encryption. The data in the card is well secured, it's encrypted. We are working with Peso Company, and we have done a very security key exchange such that no one can have access to the data that is on the card, except the person is authorized with those key encryption that have been exchanged with them. So the data is very safe and secured. In terms of fraud and whatever, I even feel that this card is much more secure than the regular debit card you are seeing, because our card is fully KYC enabled, our card is biometric enabled. Most of this card today is just chip and pin, which is the reason why people can take your pin and use it. But here, because biometric is included, it's difficult for someone to take your biometric, take your PIN, and be able to do transactions on your card. So it's more secure, and Nigerians should be rest assured that their data in terms of your identity is safe. In terms of personalizing people, what you right now to impersonalize people, it means that you probably will get certain information about the person and begin to add at the person. The picture, because the picture is saved in the chip, the biometric is saved in the chip, the demographic is saved in the chip. So when you present that card, without your biometric conforming with what is stored in the card, it's difficult for anybody to claim who you are. So therefore, the area of answering Emeka last night, tomorrow you answer Usman, the next day you are answering Shegu, is gone with this because it's one single identity. It is layered. Multiple identities. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone with this because everything you are doing is layered on your foundation identity, which is your name. Your name is foundation identity. Your name contains your demographic, your biometric, your facial, your other information that are peculiar to you, which is on the basis of that this card is issued.
Okay, we're taking a short break now. The conversation will continue after the break. Please don't go away.
Implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different?
We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that are questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today. Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today, and we're looking at the enhanced NIMC General Multipurpose Card. And of course, I have a gentleman and a lady here in the studio. Now, Princess, tell us, we've talked so much about the features of this card and, of course, the benefits it will it has, for us Nigerians. Now, what is the strategy for creating awareness and educating people, especially those at the rural areas?
Okay, thank you very much. From the statistics in our database, we have observed that we've captured most of the urban areas. And so we are NIMC, with the help of our DG, who is strategizing with us, we are moving to the rural areas. And in doing that, we are going to be working with, we are opening offices in the ward. And we are going to be working with the state governments and the local governments and the chiefs and the imams to capture those in the rural areas, because we notice most of those people have not been captured. And once we go to the ward, it will be easier for us to capture the rural areas.
Now, I want to believe that since it has been launched, there will be probably a deadline. Will there be a deadline for you to have access, to have this card? Any implication if, maybe within a stipulated period, you're not able to get this card? Is there any implication?
There's no deadline.
Okay.
Because every day people enroll, people give birth, people get to the required age limits. So there's no deadline for getting the cards. The cards will be open whenever you need it. You come to, either you go through the portal for request for the card, or you go to your bank.
Now, what I'm trying to say, ask here is the fact that earlier on you said that the old card will be phased out. Meaning at a point, the old card will no longer be, admissible, like it will not be used anymore, right?
Most of those old cards had 10 deadlines for 10 years, 5 years. Okay. So most of that 10 years, 5 years.
So after the expiration, automatically you have to get this one. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. The old cards can work.
Okay. So, Dr. Peter, I'd want you to reel out some of the unique features of this particular card, so that, some other, maybe our viewer out there will get exactly why they should get this card.
Okay. Just to start with, it's a biometric enabled card. It's a smart card. It has contactless and contactless. It has an offline, online capability. You can collect this card on if you have a bank account, on the back of your bank account, or if you don't have a bank account, it can be on a prepaid card. Yeah. The card also gives you access to government services, like I mentioned. Once you have the card, particularly the G2P card, which is meant for the vulnerable people, it opens access for you to government services, which means if there's an agreed program, you can participate in it with it. If an agreed program finishes and you are qualified for support from through Ministry of Intervention, you can Ministry of Humanitarian, you can also participate with it. If the Petroleum Ministry decides to give an energy subsidy tomorrow, it will also be through that card. Now, one of the beauty of this is that the card we're coming up with enables government agencies to partition the card, because it's had multiple wallets. So that a government agency can partition and take its own wallet and use that to define its own program. That program may not be cash. It may be just to be able to access certain services. I take an example of fertilizer. You want to administer fertilizer, give to farmers. Inside that wallet, you would have partitioned the wallet and say, this wallet is for fertilizer support for farmers. And then when that card is issued out to farmers, the farmers on their own will present that card at the point of redemption so they can collect fertilizer, as against giving them cash. And you are hoping that they will use that cash to buy fertilizer. So this card, in a way, helps the government to ensure that when they're intervening in a particular sector, they'll be able to guarantee that that intervention is going to that particular sector which is meant for, and they can see the impact on the economic growth. Two is that this card also enables people to participate in, just like I mentioned, we have close to 115 million Nigerians that have issued unique name. The bank account in the industry today is less than 60 million or 70 million, which means that the differential is a potential bank customer that we're bringing onto the banking industry. Apart from bringing to the banking industry, again, it's like these are people that we cannot be able to bring into the economy to participate and contribute to the economy. No matter how small tax that we pay from those contributions, it adds up to the government's revenue. They also enable the government to identify them and be able to know the kind of business they're doing, and if they're going to provide support, they know the kind of support to provide to them.
Okay, before you go, you talked about government services. What about like paying for your bills, NEPA bills, and all of that?
Correct. This card, because it's chip and PIN enabled, the payment applet enables you to use as the way you use your. It's like a card that has two compartments. Yeah. One is for government services. Second one is your conventional debit card that you normally, everything you currently do with your debit card, you can do with this card. Pay for bill, transfer money, pay for
data.
Everything that you currently you can do with that card. And then it's also good for us to know that one of the good things about this card is that the old scheme, we worked with MasterCard, and there were a lot of outcry that, oh, Nigerian data is somewhere outside the country. So now we are working with a local domestic card scheme called Afrigo, which means that everything about this card we're doing is indigenous, it's local to us, which also helps us to promote the economy. Then, lastly, is that the value chain we are created with this card issuance process, because from the merchant who's going to be able to manage the POS and whatever, we're creating employment for them. We're creating